All right, good morning, second grade students. This week for language arts, one of our lessons is going to be looking at what multiple meaning words are. All right, so first off, what is a multiple meaning word? So multiple meaning words are words that have more than one meaning to them. So when reading, you can learn to use what we call context clues to determine the correct meaning of the word. So context clues are words that are near the unknown word that help explain its meaning. All right, so we're going to look at some examples of multiple meaning words and their context clues. All right, so the first one is pupil. So the word pupil has two meanings to it. So one way we can use the word pupil is as another word for a student. So we can say Sally is the best pupil in the class. We could also say Sally is the best student in the class. So again, the word pupil can also mean student. The other use of pupil is when we're talking about the eye. So our sentence here is, when studying the eye, our teacher told us about the pupil. And the pupil is the black part here on the eye that allows light to come into our eyes, and it changes size depending on how much light is in the room or not in the room. So the more light there is, the smaller the pupil is, and the bigger the pupil is, that means that there's not a lot of light, so the pupil has to get bigger in order for us to see easier in the dark. All right, our next multiple meaning word is game. So game can mean like a sport or like a board game or anything like that. So an example would be baseball is a very popular game to play. The other way we can use the word game is when we are talking about wild animals. So an example would be, the wild game was killed by the hunters. All right, next up we have the word staff. So an example would be, the hospital staff took care of the sick patients. So staff here meaning all the people who work in a hospital. So like doctors, nurses, the receptionists, the people who work at the front desk who take phone calls and check people in. And the other meaning of staff we are talking about music then. So the beautiful music was written on the staff. And if you remember back a few weeks in one of our fine arts lesson, we talked about the bass clef, and then we also talked about the treble clef, which are placed on the staff, which is the lines here. All right, next up we have the word raise. So one way we can use the word raise is talking about like a money raise. So I asked my boss for a raise so I could afford to buy a new car. The other type of raise would mean like an action, as in like, please raise your hand before you speak. All right, so let's look at some example sentences of using the correct words, using context clues of the sentence and also the pictures that we have. So our sentence here is, the server brought me a cinnamon And now we need to pick from these 4 words, and all 4 of these words are multiple meaning words. So the server brought me a cinnamon roll, wound, watch, or bank. So we know that in this sentence, we know we have cinnamon roll. So it's going to be A. The server brought me a cinnamon roll. All right, now in this sentence, we have please blank over. So we have roll, wound, watch, and bank. So again, in this sentence, it's going to be A, and we're going to use the word roll again. But this time, roll is going to be the opposite meaning. So last time we were talking about a cinnamon roll. This time we're talking about the action of actually rolling over. All right, this time we have blank carefully before trying this experiment. So again, we have roll, wound, watch, and bank. So blank carefully before trying this experiment. And this time we're going to go with C, which is watch. So we're going to say watch carefully before trying this experiment. So again, this is an action. We need to watch the teacher to see how to do this experiment. All right, this time we have his blank was fast, so he arrived early. So we have roll, wound, watch, and bank. So again, we're going to go with watch. So his watch was fast, so he arrived early. So in our last sentence, watch was an action. This time we're talking about the watch that somebody would wear on their wrist to tell time. So again, remember to use context clues, and if there's pictures available, use those as well to help you find the meanings of multiple meaning words. And that is our lesson for today.